So when you take, so for example, all of the content that's been created by humans in history to create your large language model, it has all of that data information. So like you're literally ingesting all of YouTube, right? All of Reddit, all of like the internet, which we all know there's a lot of not great things on the internet, but it's ingesting all of that. And they are able, I'm not worried as much about the issue kind of in the long term because there are things where they can over time start to identify and reduce bias, but it happens at a number of levels. For example, other countries like China, the Middle East, etc., are not okay with Western developed large language models because they don't fit their culture, as an example. So you see a lot of countries are starting to develop their own, which raises all kinds of questions. But there is an inherent bias, and it's one of the things we need to be really mindful of, because again, any kind of bias can be, if we're not conscious, can be very kind of insidious in that. But I do think it is a problem that is being addressed and can technically be addressed over time. But it's a different kind of intelligence. And so issues like scale across. So if you have when you retrain something, it scales. So it's not like us where we have to tell everybody on a call something 7 times to remember it. Like it can change pretty rapidly. And some of the information, but you've seen overcorrection, right? Like Google and some of these others where they were overcorrecting. So when people were asking, for example, of images of, say, Vikings, it was giving people that obviously were not Vikings or whatever. Like, so there are a lot of issues. The companies are starting to deal with it. There are, I believe, ways to address it. But it is a big question and something we always have to be conscious of. And again, we'll talk about this in a minute, but never take, the output of a generative AI tool. It's like working with an intern, for example, is the way I would put it. You would never take the results of what they come back on their first iteration and just send it to your boss or to your biggest client, right? So we all have a duty to make sure that if we're using it, that we're the content that we produce with it is also that we're putting our own lens on top of that as well.